Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com, here to do probably an epic collection video, mostly, let's make a difference. Mostly vinyl, but anyway, I've been able to make videos for various reasons recently. One being work just doesn't fit my work schedule that well, even though I'm at home. Another being stuff outside, another being just, I made a couple videos that didn't turn out. So anyway, let's just start to go through all this stuff. It's not just, let's get the non-vinyl stuff out of the way. So I got this Marillion, we're in my Marillion shirt. I just uploaded the Marillion Top 100 song list. Complete recordings illustrated by Ian Blankensop and Andrew Spark. If you're a fan of Marillion, this wasn't a lot of money. It was on Amazon. What it really is it's images from every record and more specific detail. Track lists, like standard track lists. But it's not just, there's like bootlegs in here. I believe there's some of Fish's stuff that's in here. So it's not just, oh, here's the picture, like H's solo stuff. It's, it's more of a reference guide. I mean, there's a little biography and like the history. It's almost like a Wikipedia page in print in some ways, but something you'd find on a website. But I don't know. Was it really worth spending money? I didn't spend a lot of money on it, but anyway, it's a neat little deal. I don't know if there's other artists that have. Yeah, I think in the back there's other artists they've done. They list them. Alan Parsons Project. If they did one for Kevin, I would buy. I don't know if there ever would be. There's George Michael. There's Jeff Buckley in here, but Jeff Buckley doesn't have a big catalog. Zeppelin, Rush. I don't know, the Rush one, just for the bootleg information would be nice to have. I mean, again, you can go online and find a lot of this stuff, but I found it. Marilion's my favorite band, so I figured it was worth buying. So, okay. All right, so I got a bunch of things from Brian Scary. Brian Scary, I've been really listening to a lot over the last few months. I picked up his Birds album from 2019 on CD. This is his most recent proper studio album, though. Just rumblings, and he's actually active on social media on Twitter. There's potentially 2 albums coming out, maybe even this year. But this album, I've listened to probably the least among the sort of go-to Brian Scary records, but I've listened to it enough. It's quite good. It's jazzy at points. It's more acoustic. I've said he signed it and everything, and like I said, I probably need to I might do a series of short videos short videos of like 12 minutes for me, of each Brian Scary release, at least the best ones. I don't know, maybe I'll do a ranking. Maybe that would make more sense, but maybe when the new stuff comes out, I'd have enough time to fully digest, because I've been listening to them, but I'm still kind of taking a lot of it in. But this is Birds from 2019, and I think this is listed under Brian Scary himself. Because there's Brian Scary and the Shedding Tears that I've come to learn, and then there's just Brian Scary. I think he's done some soundtrack work to which I have not listened to, but I want to. So this is probably the most unique thing I got. This is the album from 2008 that he released, Brian Scary and the Shedding Tears, Flight of the Knife. This is a mini disc, and there's only a few of these left, and I bought them on his Bandcamp page. If you don't know Brian Scary, I did like 1 or 2 videos about him already. He's a singer-songwriter, composer, multi-instrumentalist, progressive pop in a lot of ways. He's quite diverse, but he's not so far out there that you lose it. And heavily influenced by like Queen and ELO and some other artists. At times he sounds a little bit like Justin Harris from Phenomena. At times he sounds like Daniel Johns from Silverchair. But like Self and Apes and Androids, there's a lot of similarities you hear, and I was introduced to him from this guy who's uploaded and shared a lot of stuff from Apes and Androids and related stuff, and Self, and but yeah, this is unique to have. I have a mini disc player, somewhere around here, but so I got that on mini disc. I mean, I'll have to try listening to it at some point on mini disc, because I still have that, and I did get the vinyl as well. I've got 2 of his proper albums, 2 different copies of this album, Flight of the Knife from 2008. It came out the same year as Blood Moon, and the same year, and so many other records, 2008, but it's weird how that, like, Lay to the Piers album, Fancy Black Channel, came out that year. I don't know what was in the air in 2008 with sort of progressive pop and electronic progressive pop, and I don't know, but He was from New York, and now he, I guess, lives in L.A. But and he does music for some stuff in Hollywood, like I said, some soundtracks. But here it is. This one I've listened to more. I'm listening to it again the last few days. I mean, I've mentioned in the previous video that song, "The Purple Rocket," is just an absolute banger. It's very progressive. It has a proggy sections and it has the poppy sections, and it just, oh my god, it's brilliant. That's one of the best songs of the last last 2 decades, easily. I love this whole thing. It's just like these different hooks. There's only a couple songs that have like some compression on the cymbals, but then this was his second record, I guess. I think. Flight of the Knife, the Part 1, Venus Ambassador, Lamadam on the Moon, which looks like Madame. He pronounces it differently on the song, but it looks Madame, like Madame or Madam. But oh my god, side 2 has the Purple Rocket opening. That's cool. So yeah, Flight of the Knife. If you like, like progressive pop, like Ben Sister or the Deer Hunter, or I mean, you've not heard Brian Scary. I'll have to say the same thing about Apes and Androids, or if you like ELO. You're sleeping on this guy, but people are sleeping on Self too, but he's great. He's fantastic. So anyway, his other record that I've listened to a lot that I don't have a physical copy, and I don't believe there are physical copies, is the album from 2012. That was from 2008, Flight of the Knife, but the Ziegfeld Station. So, and I listened to a lot initially. I need to go back to that, but I want a physical copy of that. So moving on. Power pop related, and then I'll get into some of these other records I got off Discogs. This was recently just put on sale. This is Owsley, the late, what's his first name? I forget it. Owsley, Will Owsley, who played, I came to learn, with a lot of people, like, some bigger names, but he released his own music. He played with, like, Ben Folds in a band at one point, but, he passed away. He unfortunately took his own life in, like, 2010. He only had 2 albums. I heard about Owsley through the Jellyfish fans, but it is, he's got 2 proper albums of his own, and it's power pop. It's great to have this album on vinyl. I revisited it last week when I noticed this was on sale. I'm like, I've never like been attached and like addicted to this album, but I've always liked it, and I revisited it. I'm like, this is, I remember liking it, but I think I like it even more now. I know it probably best for the first cut. Which is, I thought this was like a thinner, oh no, the radio, but, yeah, it's not prog. Is it progressive pop like Jellyfish in a way? It's probably more slanted, more similar to like Fountains of Wayne, or the Disassociatives, or, it's more rooted in like, Big Star, the power pop bands that people know of. But there's a certain edge to it that's a little different. It's not of that grunge, because this came out in 99, so this was really still of the grunge era. It doesn't have so much. Sloan's last record from last year is great. A lot of Sloan's music I like, but it has a grunge element, the grunge power pop. Was it Better Than Ezra did some stuff like that, but I don't know, part of me was like, this is probably going to be limited pressing, and I kind of feel like I want to have something from him. I have this on CD, so this is the self-titled album. He has another record that came out a few years later that I've listened to less, but I'll have to see if it ever comes on vinyl. But I'm glad to. It wasn't super expensive either. So from, what's the name of this company? Real Gone Music. So, all right. So now moving on. All this stuff I think I ordered through like Discogs and some other stuff. I'm waiting on one more record, which I'll do a video. It's probably going to take. It's probably going to take a few more weeks, but it's been waiting for like a year and a half. I've mentioned it a few times. So I finally got a confirmation email today. But, among some stuff, I didn't pay an arm and a leg for any of this stuff. I just was on Discogs over the last month and a half of most of this stuff. I'm like, get this. Now, I got this from actually a local dealer. This wasn't on Discogs. You just Google, but Discogs and some of the retailers that are on Discogs, if I could get this open. I also should mention that the Owsley record is one of only 1,000 copies, so I'm glad that was the other. It's like it was limited. I knew it was gonna be limited. So, But this is the debut album from, I believe it's Norway's, In Vain. Came out in 2007. I was introduced through some of the sort of the metal, for the prog metal fans, Deep Dream Theater fans of this band. They have multiple vocal styles. It was like, yeah, the company I got this from, actually, I figured, because they're from Norway, and this came out recently in the last few years. I'd have to pay an arm and a leg to ship it from Europe, but it was actually from Rockabilia, which is based in, I think it's Chanhassen. Just, whatever, 35-mile drive from me or something. But this is their debut album, In Vain. They put out a couple other records. I think I have their last record, Currents, on vinyl. They have one other record that I want. I mean, they have two other records. I ultimately would probably like to have all of them. But this is called Blackened, progressive blackened metal. Different styles of vocals. This was one of the first cases of a band who's, after I kind of came over and accepted non-clean vocals beyond Opeth, I kind of found the vocals funny, but then I kind of just appreciated them. There's different styles. There's black metal streaks. There's some clean vocals. There's some samples. If I'm mistaken, there might even be some female vocals. They use some saxophone. I want to say on one or two of their records. So they're progressive in a sense. So, my favorites, the latter, let's see, the title, well, In the Midnight Hour, October's Monody, The Titan is great. I think of like a ship in space when I hear that song. Morning Sun. I like their whole catalog basically, but this has always sort of been my go-to. Enigma from 2013, I've always enjoyed too. In some ways, I enjoy maybe some of the songs a little more than all the songs on here, but pretty thick pressing, just black, go figure. The Latter Rain from In Vain. And they have a new album in the works. I mentioned that in the video I made yesterday. The gatefold or whatever. Thick pressing. Metal on vinyl. I've got a lot of metal. How well it sounds on vinyl. So anyway, moving on. We're sticking with kind of the heavier music. Most of these are heavier. So I got this from the Laser's Edge, Ken Golden. I haven't picked anything up from him in quite a while, but I'm glad. I'm still on the mailing list. This is Carnival's debut album, just like In Vain's, also from 2007. Themata. And I know this is kind of sacrilege in some respects, but this is my favorite record from Carnival, and really their only great record. I guess in my mind, they put out a lot of good songs. The album that followed, people love, Sound Awake. I have that on CD. I pre-ordered it long before a lot of people even had heard of them, but I don't know why it is. The production on that record and how long it is, and then the record after, To Symmetry, did not quite go as far with me. I mean, partly the production just was, the cymbals clipped frequently on that record. But this record has always worked. Does it sound like Tool? Yes and no. I mean, when it was amidst my obsession with Fair to Midland fan loved Carnival, and so it makes sense. This is what, Cinematic, that's the name of the pressing, the company that pressed it, with a C. Cinematic, not Cinematic, Cinematic. So, the title track and Coat, those two are both bangers. The dynamics are great on both those songs. It's very progressive. Again, does it sound like Tool? Yes, I think Sound Awake at times sounds a little too much like Tool to me. I like Ian Kenny's voice more than Maynard, and Tools, I've said it many times, I don't like them because they used to give me headaches. Shutter Speed, Lifelike was a single, Roquefort, Scarabs, Unchanged Part 1. But yeah, it's great to have this on vinyl, and I got it I remember the original, I got an email from them when it came out. Which one is this? This is the first one. And, I discovered them in the MySpace era, by the way, but it's weird to think that. Because this came out in 2007. I think I got it around that time. It came out in 2019. It was pressed on Inside Out. Interesting, they're on Inside Out. I didn't realize that, but I forget what I was talking about. Anyway, it's great to finally have this on vinyl. I don't know if I'll ever get Sound Awake on vinyl for the right price. Oh, I remember, because it was to buy this. It was being shipped from Australia, and it was going to be north of $60 at least. And I think from going through Laser's Edge, I paid about 40, so like 35 or 40. It was, it's great to finally have a copy of this. So another gatefold. All right, more prog metal of sorts. That's pretty much a lot of this update is prog metal. Finally picked up. This was on Discogs, I believe, for a reasonable price. Savage's 1996 album. I think it was. I was certain that this was 96. Dead Winter Dead, which of course includes Sarajevo, Christmas Eve, Sarajevo 1224, which kind of made their career and got them. I don't know how much money in royalties and touring and exposure and everything, but I mean it's the Zach Stevens period of Savatage, which I favor greatly. Red vinyl here. It's a concept album about a gargoyle and the war in Bosnia and that kind of thing in the mid-90s, early 90s actually. It was the third album with Zach Stevens, the second without Chris Oliva, but like on Handful of Rain, which is my favorite. Here's a promo picture with the band, Johnny Lee Middleton and Zach Stevens right there. Chris, I don't know if I see John Oliva in here. Oddly enough, I'm not sure how involved John Oliva was with this. I gotta believe because he is basically Savatage. Thick pressing, it's got the labels with the Savatage. I really am excited to hear what they do with that final album, Curtain Call, whatever it's going to be called next year. Assuming it does come out, but we've talked about it for a long time. But I've always looked at Handful of Rain as my favorite, and then Wake of Magellan. I believe I have a copy of that too. I need to organize my. I believe I have a copy of that as well, but comes with this poster I think too. Because I opened it a few weeks ago when I got it. Yeah, it's like a tour. It's just a write-up, like an anniversary or something like that. Yeah, this didn't actually have. It was produced by John Oliva, but he only did some additional vocals and keyboards. So he wasn't he was still a member of the band, I guess, but Chris Caffery, and Al Pitrelli, that's what I was getting at, is that on Handful of Rain, of course, was the first album after Chris Oliva died, and they just hired Alex Skolnick from Testament as the guitarist, but he wasn't going to be a permanent member, basically. I don't even know if he toured with them. He might have. I haven't read this thing. It'd be good to read. But so they had Al Pitrelli, who had been in, I want to say Megadeth? At one point he was with Asia, too. But, his voice wasn't doing well, and that's why he couldn't sing. That's why, but it's just weird. You don't even list him. I don't know. There's some weird things about this. The only thing about this record is when I first was introduced to Savatage from someone on a mailing list, it was like a bunch of Rush fans, and I was just getting into Fates Warning. Ironically, Fates Warning and Savatage would tour together a few years later. They're both on Metal Blade. This was pressed by, I don't know the name of it, eMusic? Something like Ear Music. Ear Music. The guy I was exchanging bootlegs and stuff with, he told me about Savatage, he told me about this album. Now, I don't think I bought it right away. He said this was their new album and everything like that, and the concept. They told me the story about what happened to Chris Oliva and stuff like that, but it's just weird. I only need a couple more. I only need, of the ones I really think are essential, I need some of the later Chris Oliva ones. Streets, Rock Opera, and Gutter Ballet especially. I'm not sure how many more, because I have Hall of the Mountain King. I don't know. Eventually, I might complete the whole thing. Oh, there's even another piece. Here's the poster. That was a book. This is the poster I was remembering when I initially opened this. Dead Winter Dead Tour '96. But yeah, I don't even know if John Oliva was on that tour. I didn't see it. I didn't see them until that tour in 2001 with Fates Warning. But and to this day, I saw them one other time at Prog Party USA. They weren't under the Savatage name. They were known as Weapons Mass Destruction. I don't know, for some kind of rights reason they had to do that. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Another prog metal masterpiece. I found a copy. I didn't realize this had come out on vinyl. So it's Green Carnation's 1 hour long piece. One song. It's a double vinyl. Light of Day, Day of Darkness. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. It works beginning to end. There's no dead spots. I know, is it Shell Nordland, the vocalist, is now with Subterranean Masquerade too, but this came out in 2001, I believe. But I've talked about it a little bit, but not in depth. I like their last record, Greens of Yesteryear, or whatever it's called, Green Leaves of Yesteryear, but this is and probably always will be their masterpiece. It's so unique that it's 1 hour, it's one piece, and it flows so well. It's progressive metal, it's a little doom metal. The vocals are mostly clean. It's a little bit like the clean vocals from In Vain. This came out 6 years before that In Vain album, the debut album in Latter Rain. But yeah, this is a marvel. It's an achievement in composition. You think one track that was 1 hour would get boring, and it just doesn't. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. It's prog metal, and it doesn't sound like a copy of Dream Theater. It's very kind of, it's a little doomy, at points. There's a Black Sabbath element probably at points, but there's a lot of like segues and dynamics. Some of the lyrics are they're a little preachy, I guess. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings metal, or you could say it's a little bit like Blind Guardian in a way, but more prog and not power metal. I don't know if you would say there's any power metal on this record. Green Carnation being from, I think they might be from Norway as well. I could be wrong. This is I never really pursued the rest of their catalog. I heard this album for the first time probably about 15 years ago. It was the late 2000s. And then I didn't bother I was trying to get into, trying to discover as many, sort of extreme metal or non-traditional prog metal bands, and that was it. So I got 2 more records to show. I did finally pick up a copy on vinyl of the new Warpaint album, Radiate Like This, from last year, from 2022. I really like this record. It's very dreamy. I did buy it on CD when I was in California, so I've not picked up both. I'm pretty much a Warpaint completist, at least at this point. But I haven't returned to it much. But I think this is, this reminds me a lot of what I loved about them initially. Not so much the EP, but the first album. I think they've changed their sound since the first EP, which I still, push comes to shove, my favorite thing, but it's not that long. It's like a 35-minute record. That's why it's only on one disc. But there's just the dreamy moments. Like, every song has some dreamy moment I like. And while some people expect more from music. They want something they can, bang their head to, or, rock out to, or whatever. Warpaint can do that a little bit, especially live, but they're more about the textures and the mood, and it's just hypnotic. And it's like, where would I compare this? I probably wouldn't say it's better than The Fool, but it might be their second best. I like their last album, Heads Up. I know people didn't like the single on that record, New Song, which I loved, which was kind of poppy for them, but anyway, the Warpaint album, after, never seeing it initially and then not buying it and then failing to find it in the store for many record stores for about, I don't know how many months, 3-4 months this winter, finally picked it up online and decided to heck with it. All right, and so here's the last one, which I have something to show with it. This is the 20th anniversary copy of the new of El Cielo from Dredge. This is the shirt, the long sleeve that are they doing this to fund their new record? I would hardly question that. I think they are. They need the money. They don't have the tons of money to go into the studio. Studios cost money, and they have families and everything else to pay bills for. They're not doing Dredge music full time anymore. And I already have an initial copy, the initial pressing, but it's still neat to get another copy of a top 10 or 15 album of all time. It's a cool anniversary edition of it. I'm not even sure if the initial pressing was even 180 gram. It might have been. But, between that and the Vault box that came out over the wintertime, it's been a lot of Dredge product. This is a cool pressing, too. Look at this. This is like a marble, or it's like a lime yogurt or something. But, yeah, this is one of my favorite records of all time. It's very much a mood record. From The Canyon Behind Her to Woe Is Me to Convalescent. I love that song. To The Same Old Road. There's just, it's very much a sweet, though, like a lot of records I enjoy where I think of it as a suite, inside 3, inside 4, so, Canyon Miner at the end of it. The second record that came out initially in 2002, so it was being pressed and coming out the 20-year anniversary. I don't know if they're going to continue to do anniversaries for a lot of this stuff. We might get an anniversary of... and it came with this, too. So you did get some extra stuff, which is a cool booklet. The original pressing did not. Some of the artwork was like that. They need to press a version with that, I suppose, but, all the different notes and letters from people that are dealing with sleep paralysis, because the concept is it's a bunch of people that are dealing with sleep paralysis. They can't wake up when they want to wake up and that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you next time.